Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing, and we are talking about gardening. Gardening from all around the world to what's going on in your garden in Mississippi. Happy New Year. I am in England. I'm in my winter home in England. It's cold, it's snowy out there, sleeting, but I'm toasty, I'm warm, and in my heart, I'm talking about gardening in Mississippi. So whatever you want to talk about, it's a live program, toll free. So let's turn this into an hour of yakking about your what's going to happen with this cold weather coming in and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna sit back and relax. I'm gonna calm down a little bit because this is so important to me, more than just a hobby of just talking about gardening with folks in real time. Anyway, Happy New Year, Java.
Same to you, Felder, man. Happy New Year. I tried to text you right at midnight, which is 7 hours or something ahead of time on New Year's Day, but I think I missed the mark. But I think I still got you pretty early in the morning.
Yeah, well, it's only 6 hours actually, and I did get it, and I was up, I think. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
that's a that's a big thing. People actually staying up to midnight. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And before we go any further, I got something new. We're broadcasting. This is the live stream, and I'm not sure still how to tell people to find live stream while it's live, other than go to mpbonline.org and figure something out from there.
Well,
Because
or if you don't want to figure it out, you can go to YouTube and type in Mississippi Public Broadcasting, or type in the Gestalt Gardener, and you'll see a live a
what is
square, and then it'll be
is
right
is
there for you.
is live even on YouTube right now? Because I thought that was like the podcast or something.
No, it's live. People can tune in right now. Hopefully, we'll get a couple questions in the chat. So if you want to jump on YouTube, you can do that right now and see Felder and ask a question. Actually,
Yeah, I'm curious to find out if anybody's doing it, if they will let us know if it works or not, because I'm a boomer Java and I don't trust all this stuff. Matter of fact, I have something new. I've got a new background screen. We're doing this by Zoom, and I put a background screen of what it looks like above my village in northern England. A lot of people don't realize England has got a lot of hills and mountains and stuff like that. And I live in the what's called moorland. It's like really, really hilly area. And in between the hills are real temperate rainforests with moss and ferns and old lichens and just kind of it's a rainforest. But when you get up above it, when you break out of the fog, it's like mountains. It's got rock outcroppings and all sorts of. Anyway, my background picture is me right up above my village, and if you look down, you can't see my village because of the fog. But anyway, I'm trying this new background. If I move, it makes me pop in and out because I don't know how to do this technology.
it's like you can almost disappear if if you're not careful, Felder. See, there you go. Where did you go? Where did you go, man?
Anyway, I don't mind learning about stuff and I don't mind mocking myself, but when we're talking about gardening, I'm real serious about it. I have a different kind of attitude than most horticulturists. Most horticulturists are all about how to and what's the most efficient way and what are the rules and when do you do stuff and all like that. But I also think like a gardener, and the rules sometimes stink. Sometimes the rules just don't make that much sense. And so I try to be practical. What's true horticulturally from a scientist point of view, but also really, if we're just trying to knock around and have fun, you don't have to do all that stuff. Let's start easy. Let's start out with a compost system as being a leaf pile and then take it from there. Now, with that said, we've already got a caller on the line. Let's start out this New Year's with a call from Jim in Jackson. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good morning, Felder. This is Jim Rosenblatt, live by phone.
that works. We're old school, Dean.
Felder, I know you're a big proponent of cottonseed meal, and I bought 2 bags the other day. I seek your recommendation. Am I best to put it down now and till it into the soil, or should I wait until I plant and side dress my plants with it? What would be your
Well,
recommendation?
that's a good question. And the truth is actually both and everything in between. Cottonseed meal, like most natural fertilizers, whether it's manure or cottonseed meal or fish emulsion, natural fertilizers have got to be broken down in the soil by microbes, bacteria, fungi, worms, things like that, and to be made available to plants. So plants can't absorb it until it's broken down. That's the reason it lasts a long time. It's gentle and slow. And I'm afraid that there's not much activity going out there in the soil right now. So I think it'd be better to wait a little bit closer to planting time. And if you want to till it in, you can, or else just put it on top of the ground. Have you got worms in your raised bed? You have plenty of
I
worms?
do.
Well,
Yes.
worms come up at night and they eat leaf litter and mulch and stuff, and they nibble a little cottonseed meal, which gives them protein, and then they circulate it down deep around the roots. So they'll do the tilling for you. So I'd go ahead and wait till you plant like normal, mulch, throw a little cottonseed meal on top of that, and then worms will take it from there. And they'll convert it into neutral to a useful fertilizer as they do that.
I'm very popular in my neighborhood, Felder. People are raking up and mulching their leaves and putting them in bags for the trash people to pick up, but I go get them, and I've got about 6 or 7 stored. And after I plant my tomatoes and peppers in the spring, I put about 4 or 5 inches of leaf mulch around them. I found it to be a great mulch. It keeps the weeds down, keeps moisture in, and by the end of the summer, it's decomposed and it's worked back into the soil.
Yeah, it actually becomes it's really really important to do that. The only caveat I can think about that, Jim, is if they have a lot if they have a lawn care company and they put a lot of weed killers out, those grass clippings may have some herbicide in it that, in theory, not a real serious thing, but could damage some of your plants if you put too much at a time. So if it's just tree leaves, no problem. But grass clippings sometimes, especially in a nice neighborhood where people actively take care of the lawns, if there's some herbicide out there, it could cause some minor problem. Not really enough to worry about, just in the back of your head.
Well, these are leaves and not grass clippings, and these neighbors don't use herbicides, so I feel pretty confident that I've got a good organic base to add to the garden.
Okay, well, you and I live in the Jackson metro area, and you know what neighborhood I live in?
I do.
Stay out. Those are my leaves.
Okay, I won't bother your leaves, Felder.
I'm staking out my territory, Dean.
Okay, by your leaves.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Felder.
Thank you. Oh, Java, sometimes if you get avid leaf rakers and composters, it becomes a turf thing, pardon the pun.
I see. Let's go back to the phones. If you can believe it, we're starting off 2025 with 2 Jims back to back. We have another Jim in Jackson on the phone, wants to join the show.
Hey, Jim, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Felder. How was your New Year's?
So far, so good. Not so bad. I mean, we're the 3rd day into it, and life is good.
Yeah, me too, man. Listen, about watching the show live, if you go to the app, the MPB app, and then hit the menu lines, the drop-down menu has an option for YouTube, and you can just touch that and watch it on your phone.
Are you doing that now?
No, I'm not, because I was in the middle of the call when y'all started talking about it. But I had done it.
This is all experimental to me. Java says it works, but I'm a boomer.
I was just gonna say, Jim, we may have to put you on payroll because yes, that is another way to get to the YouTube through the MPB Public Media app. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
So what's going on in your garden?
Well, we picked up. We were at Trader Joe's right before Christmas and picked up one of these little containers of paper whites and waited for them to bloom. Is there any way to preserve those things, put them in the ground? Will they survive in the Jackson area?
Yes, a lot of people do. They may skip a year if you don't do it horticulturally correct, but they'll do fine. Here's the deal. Paper whites, like all daffodils, all narcissus, they make the bulb and the flower bud for next year after they finish blooming, and they need leaves to do that. So when it gets through, when the flowers fade, if you'll snip the flowers off and set the pot full of leaves out there in the sunshine, as long as it's not hard freezing, go out where they get real winter sunshine, because the sunshine absorbed by the leaves gets sent down to make next year's flower buds. If you do that, you may have to tie the leaves up if they flop over, but as long as they get sunshine on the leaves for 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks after they get through blooming, you can plant them anytime and they will not skip a beat. They'll bloom fine next year. But if they flop over or if they don't get enough sunshine, they may skip a year blooming. They may have to do their leaf thing next year and then bloom the year after.
Okay, well, the blooms are already fading, so and then the leaves are flopping a little bit, so I've already tied them up. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll just set the pot out in the sun.
Yeah, if it gets down, everybody's worried about this freeze coming. This freeze is not that big a deal. This is a normal freeze. This is fine. Our plants need this weather that's coming up, and it won't slow paper whites down at all. But yours have been indoors, so they're a little tender. So it's going to get below, if it's going to get in the 20s, I'd bring them in just during that time and set them back out.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks very much, and I wish you and Java both Happy New Year.
Thank you. I look forward to sharing it with you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Same to you, Jim. Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Wow, Java. I'm just trying out this new technology. I got this background screen. If I move real fast, part of me disappears.
Yeah, we're gonna have to tie you down. I know it's kind of hard, but you're doing okay for right now.
Yeah, I was going to show something. It's hard to do, but I've got an MPB cup that I brought back from Mississippi,
Uh-huh.
but I broke it. And I turned it into a flower pot. And I was going to put some of these succulents that I grow outside in it, but the succulents outside are frozen solid. I had to break some pieces off to put them in this cup. But it's cold here. I think it's going to get down in maybe the 20s in Mississippi this weekend.
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit, this weekend, a little bit later on in the week. This is that freeze everybody's kind of had their eye on, because it's going to get below, I think, what did you say, about the 20s, and it's going to sustain that for a little while overnight. So people are kind of getting prepared.
Yeah, I've noticed on the Mississippi Gardening Facebook page, which I spend, that's really my hobby. I'm retired. I don't have to do this kind of stuff. People like me and Gary Bachman and all the other folks. Once we retire, we're supposed to go fishing or something, but instead we hang out on places like Facebook just to talk with real gardeners about stuff. But I notice a lot of people are really freaking out about this cold. And this cold is nothing. This is not a big deal. Plants need this. They're saying, should we cover up our hydrangeas? Hydrangeas grow outside in Michigan. The cold's not going to hurt them. If it gets down below 15, suddenly that's a problem. But 30s, 20s, mid 20s, not that big a deal to plants. It kind of makes them feel good.
Well, what about we are coming up on our first break, but the shock factor, I just looked at the weather, 72 for the high in Jackson on Sunday, but then the low is 32. Yeah. So it's kind of just that fast drop.
Yeah, it is a fast drop, but as long as it stays in the 30s and the upper 20s, it's really not that big a deal. A lot of people have noticed that they've got some of their spring flowers are blooming. There's a lot of buds out there and all. Nothing we can do about that. Covering the plants up only helps temporarily down to maybe the upper 20s. But if you're worried about it, you want to cover stuff up, go ahead. But if the sun comes back out, you need to uncover them, because the sun shining through that covering can overheat the plants and do more damage than the cold will. So in general, if you've got normal outdoor plants that normally make it outdoors in Mississippi, I would not worry at all about this weather we have. So we got a break coming up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take our first break, and then I can kind of show you what I brought from my garden.
And while we're doing that, you want to holler at me about moving too much with our new technology?
I don't need to holler at you if you're doing good, man. Well, now you're messing up. Now you're messing up.
I'm having fun. I have so much fun at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, Java. Thank y'all for this opportunity to enjoy my retirement, talk with real gardeners about real gardening. I appreciate that. And we're going to take a little bit of a break and come back, and left a bag full of stuff for Java to talk about every week. So we can talk about what's going on in Mississippi. But I said this week, Java, bring your own stuff. So we come right back. We're going to see what's going on in Java's garden. For horticulturalist Felder Rushing, we'll be right back. See ya. Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing, and we're talking about gardening in the Deep South, specifically in Mississippi, but anywhere if you are Southern at heart. John, before we get much further, we have a new member of Mississippi Gardening Facebook. She moved to Mississippi from Yorkshire, which is northeast England. I'm in northwest England, and she said, "What can I expect with the weather?" I'm thinking, sweetheart, you have no idea.
I guess what would be the biggest difference? Maybe gardening all year round for sure.
Well, gardening all year round, but also the fact that that in Mississippi in the summertime, if we're lucky, it cools down hotter than it gets up to in Yorkshire in the summer. But also we have really heavy winter rains, and this is what a lot of people may misunderstand who are from Mississippi. The rains that we have, the heavy rains, are tough on some kind of plants. They can take moisture, but not heavy rains. Also, the sudden drop from 70s to freezing hurts some plants that are used to either being cold or being hot. Also, the fact that it gets really hot and dry in the summertime and the all-night humidity. The reason I'm saying this because a lot of people identify themselves by what zone they're from. I'm from zone 8. I'm from zone 9. England and Mississippi are both zones 8 and 9. Tucson, Arizona is zone 8. Seattle, Washington is zone 8. Zones have nothing to do with anything other than how cold might it get one day in the wintertime. So if you identify by zones, it's going to mess you up. A lot of plants say this is good for zone 8. Well, they're talking about Seattle zone 8, not Mississippi summertime zone 8. So anyway, don't worry about stuff like that. We've got a lot of good people to help us out with really good, tough plants, durable plants. We know what does well in Mississippi. We know some things that do not do well, and we encourage people to try to grow them, but don't feel like you're a failure if that plant says, nope, this ain't my zone. So anyway, what you got? Oh, what about the Facebook thing, the YouTube thing?
Yeah, we got a couple of YouTube comments that I want to bring to your attention. Our very own Liz Gill, she's doing a lot of things. She's helping out on the phones right now, but she's also dropped a YouTube comment talking about her summer blooming bulbs. She says she has some of them now. When can I dig some up to share with my daughter?
Oh, that's a good question. In general, if they're dormant and if they're not growing at all now, it's a good time to dig them up. About the only thing I would not move right now are things that are. It's not a good idea to move anything while it's in bloom, even in the wintertime. If they're in bloom, it needs to be in bloom, not be moved around. So, in general, you move plants in the season opposite of what it is that they do best. So if they do well in the summer, you can move them in the winter. If they do well in the winter, move them in the summer. That's just sort of a general thing. But a lot of people are worried about cutting plants back also. Should I prune my plants back? Yeah, you can prune them back. It's, because they're not going to do anything till summer. But if you prune them back hard now, they may get a little bit more winter damage than if they had that foliage left on them. So things like lantana, hydrangeas, yeah, you can prune them now, but slight advantage to wait until a little bit later in the winter.
And our next comment comes from a user, and her name is Mushroom Sally. I guess that's a play on Mustang Sally. She says,
we need a song. What we need? Who's the guy that does all the caricature songs?
Oh, Weird Al.
Yeah, we need Weird Al to do a Mushroom Sally song.
Yeah, in the Wilson Pickett version. Let's see. I'm interested in composting, but I detest rodents. Any tips to keep them at bay?
Yeah, this is a fairly easy one. Go ahead and put some posts up, 4x4 posts, fence posts, any kind of post, and then put a chicken wire fence all the way around it, where then you can open it up to get into the compost, but close it when you're done. And that's pretty much it. The chicken wire will keep them out. Sometimes they can climb over it into it, but the truth is, I know she may detest rodents. I do too. Detest roaches. A lot of people just detest nature, but it's not as big a deal if you want to avoid things like rodents. If you bury stuff that rodents are likely to eat, if you use it, just bury it. You put it on one side, throw some compost on top of it. They're not going to dig around as much as you think, but chicken wire frame or around the compost, that works really, really well.
Now, the compost is attractive to the rodents. Why?
Well, I mean, because they're scavengers. They'll eat a pizza box if they don't have enough pizza because it's got grease on it. It's just like they say goats will eat tin cans. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I've seen a goat eat a tin can.
Well, see, they're not eating the tin cans. They're eating the paper labels and they're licking that sweet glue off of it. But it looks like cans.
Yeah, goats will eat anything. Don't look that up on YouTube.
When we get a chance, I have the answer to a question that nobody has asked. It has to do with New Year's. Matter of fact, for those watching on the live stream, can our guys back there, the tech team, can they pull up the picture of my New Year's meal that I made? Tell me if they.
Yeah, we have Abram and Marissa in the back, the dream team. They're back there gonna pull that up because you sent a number of pictures. One of them was like of a truck or something.
Oh yeah. I'll touch on that. But can they pull up the picture of the food?
Yeah, they can pull it up.
Okay, tell me when it's up because other people are listening. They're on pins and needles about what this is about.
It's all right. So what are we looking at here? It's up, Felder.
Black-eyed peas.
Of course.
Right? With some salsa in it. You need a little Rotel or some salsa. I've got cornbread, which I made with corn in it and cheese in it. I've got cabbage because they don't know what collards are here, cooked in a little bacon. I've got some sweet potato casserole. Okay, that is a traditional New Year's good luck meal for Southerners, right?
Yeah, because you got the cornbread, you got the got your greens, even though they are
greens are greens,
greens are greens, but you gotta have the black-eyed peas. I don't care what's going on, you gotta have the black-eyed peas.
Okay, well, I smuggled the black-eyed peas and the cornbread mix into England from Mississippi. But I had this thing. I read someplace you're supposed to, for best luck, you're supposed to eat 365 black-eyed peas for good luck every day. And I'm thinking that's a lot of black-eyed peas. Apparently, they don't live with anybody. But anyway, I'm just curious about this, Java. So what I did was I emptied the can out and I counted them. And a can of black-eyed pea, a typical can of black-eyed peas has around 500 black-eyed peas in it.
And you ate the whole can?
No. But that is something nobody really. How many black-eyed peas are in a can? Now, if you go with Heinz baked beans like they do here in England, there's only 400 beans in a can of baked beans, like a Campbell's beans. So we get more beans per can of black-eyed peas, and that alone makes it a better reason to eat them.
Felder, now I don't even want to know how you know all of this stuff. You counting the beans?
I'm Java. I'm making this stuff up. But the facts are true. I did count out. Actually, what I did was divided the can of peas into fourths, and I counted the peas in 1/4, and I multiplied that by 4 because I had to learn math in school. But anyway, 500 black-eyed peas in a can of black-eyed peas. It's only a good luck for about 1.5 people.
We have a cheesy tune break. My head's starting to hurt.
Yeah, we need to go back to what we're here for, is gardening. But it is gardening. The fact is, a lot of us grow our own food. We grow some food, and I don't grow enough to keep me alive. But I grow enough, plus the herbs, the peppers. Oh, and the peppers I put in this were some that I smuggled also, some dried pepper flakes. We do grow enough in our little gardens to supplement what we eat. And also to make us feel good, like we're connected. I think it's good to grow even a pot full of herbs, rosemary, oregano, some thyme, a hot pepper. Just growing a little bit of stuff, not enough to be self-sufficient, but it makes you feel good. Plus, it connects you with gardening and the real world. I think that's important.
Yeah. Now, next thing that's important on our list is taking our next break, man. It's halftime.
Okay. Did you get the cheesy tune I sent?
I got it queued up, ready to go.
I've never heard this before, and I was playing around looking for an appropriate song, and I found a song sung and performed by our own Mississippi B.B. King about the New Year. I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, horticulturalist Felder Rushing, my awesome producer Java Chapman, and all the folks at MPB, we welcome you to this new year. Look forward to sharing your garden over the next year. But we're going to take a quick break and come back with more of the Gestalt Gardener after listening to B.B. King talking about the new year. Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing and Java. While we're in the break, you and I were having to think, think radio, but I didn't know it was going to make us have to think. What was
And
it? Somehow YouTube said something about me being Persephone.
I'm gonna presume that it's Persephone, the mythical daughter of Zeus. I don't know. Somebody said you were this person because when you leave and go over to England, the Mississippi winter comes. So we had to look up what all of that meant because we're not as smart as Jennifer on YouTube.
I did a little Googling quick. Persephone is a vegetation goddess, and so apparently she's a goddess of spring. So when I'm gone, it ain't no sunshine. Wait, there's a song there.
Yeah, there is a song. Ain't no sunshine when she's
Anyway,
gone.
we can talk, Java, you and I can talk forever, and you got something to share, but this is a call-in program. Anybody who's listening wants to give us a call, it's toll-free, 1-877-MPB-RING. I know you got some stuff on your mind because people are writing constantly on Mississippi Gardening with good things. Here's what's going on in my garden. They're excited about things that are happening in January. They're worried about some stuff. They're thinking ahead or they're looking back. If you got anything you'd like to talk about that's related to gardening, I promise not to overwhelm you with horticulture. I'll talk to you as if I was going to try to do that in my yard. Toll free, 1-877-MPB-RING. Now, Java, before I left, I gave you a box full of bags of goodies so that every week we'd have a little show and tell. But I think you brought something to show and tell from your new garden in Jackson.
Yeah, I went outside. You told me to bring something in, and of course, I'm not as knowledgeable as you, so I'm looking for the blooms. I'm looking for the flowers. I'm looking for the pretty, and I have two different camellia flowers, the pink and the white, that are growing in my garden now, and they look very pretty in January.
And some people worry because here's got buds on them and a hard freeze may kill some of the buds. But this cold we're having this on this go around, it's not going to hurt these plants. They like cold weather. They're from a cold part of China and Japan. They like cold weather. But you've got a white one, you've got a pink one, and what are the chances those have not been watered or fertilized or anything done to them over the past 2 or 3 years while they were preparing your house for sale?
Yeah, I can believe it because the previous owners, they had been gone away from the property for about a year. So I know no care has happened, but they just popped on up.
People talk about, oh, I can't wait till spring. I just hate wintertime. They're overlooking. You can't have camellias without winter. You can't have daffodils without winter. You can't have red flowering quince. There's so many things that we can enjoy in the deep south in the winter. As a matter of fact, here's a challenge I like to throw out, Java. Folks who get depressed about winter, think about riding around town or walking around your neighborhood, go to the older parts of town and see what looks good this month, what looks great in January. And imagine having 3 or 4 or 5 of those plants in your garden this time next year. One is enough, but if you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 plants that really shine in the winter, and maybe put a little bench or an urn or a pot full of colorful pansies to add a little color, you can have a really nice looking spot of color in the worst time of the year. And all of a sudden, July and August becomes the worst time of year, and you look forward to having some plants that bloom without having to be watered or anything. So anyway, it's just I'm optimistic. I'm not cynical. I'm not hedonistic. I'm what they call philosophically, and what they call what would it be? Anyway, it's a gather ye rosebuds while ye may type of attitude. Things can always be better. They can always be worse. So what can we do to get the most out of the here and now and do good and help others and not whine too much about what we don't have and be thankful without being overly proud of what we do have? So anyway, that's That's my approach.
And
And
I
if you
do,
don't have something right now, find something.
and I think you've explained it one other way where you say it's not glass half full, glass half empty. It's a beautiful vessel.
Yeah, glass alone is nice, and if you have him, go find something. There are a lot of people who try to have big gardens, and it kicks them. It just makes it where it's not fun. Yeah, I firmly believe that if you have a big pot, a pot that you can barely get your arms around, with two or three or four different kind of plants in it, you can have as much satisfaction from those if you just pay attention to what you have rather than what you don't have. And this time of year, you can have a beautiful little container garden on your porch with stuff you can look at, something that's good for butterflies and bees that come out this time of year, something you can eat or at least flavor food with. It's possible to have a good garden no matter who you are or where you are, even in winter, even in Mississippi. So anyway, I've waxed philosophical. I wish somebody would call us, and so I don't have to keep making stuff like this up.
Well, Felder, you wish, and here it goes. We have Jim from Madison on the phone who wants to join the show.
Hey, Jim, thanks for calling, man. What's up?
Hey, it's Jim Sones from Madison, Felder. I hear you're running a special on gyms today, so
Yeah, well, yeah, and you did the hat trick.
well, look, I have a question about. I'm retired, and as I've got older, I had a friend of mine who's a great furniture maker, stooped to making me some raised beds, and I have them up about 2.5 feet, so I can sit on the edge of them as I've gotten older too. But my question is, I've had a worm farm in my garage for probably about 10 years, and I wanted to know about what do you recommend as far as adding the worms to my raised beds and to my compost heap that I admit is more of a sawdust and leaf pile. I do add some green to it every now and then, and I'm very behind in turning it. But when would you recommend putting the worms in both of those?
Well, first of all, are these a red wiggler type of worms or are they earthworms?
Yeah, I got them from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm, which is another Jim. But they're red wigglers. They're a few longer earthworms, but the red wigglers, and they're voracious too. They eat everything I put in it within a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Red wiggler worms are preferred for vermicompost because they're voracious. They're small, and you can buy them as fish bait, but they're real small, but they're really voracious. They churn stuff really fast. The problem with them outside that is they're tropical, and they'll freeze in the wintertime. They also really, the sawdust is okay, but they really, like moist stuff. So as long as if you want to work up your beds and then put a lot of leaf mold on top, you can put them out in the springtime and they'll do a good job over the summer. But in the wintertime, they don't dig down deep like earthworms do, and most of the time they'll freeze. Plus, you may end up with some critters in there, because they're tasty. They have a kind of a funky smell and real tasty. So, but they're fine. But I would put them out in the spring, and just take it from there. I mean, you have a billion of them.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
They like I said, they're voracious, but they don't harm the roots of growing plants, do they? Like vegetables.
No, they're strictly herbivores. They're strictly eat leaves. Earthworms will ingest a little bit of dirt. These little red wigglers, if you crumble up eggshells in there, they'll use that for the calcium to help them lay their eggs or cocoons, whatever they call it. But for the most part, they don't damage plants at all. But I'm afraid they will run out of stuff to eat real fast if you don't keep adding fresh mulch to your garden because they're hungry.
Great. And finally, I wanted to ask your advice about winter with raised beds. I usually can nurse some lettuce and cabbage along all during the winter, but do you recommend any cover crops in the winter, like alfalfa and things like that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got a little small raised bed. It's 3 to 4 feet wide. It varies. 30 feet. I got about 100 square feet of linear in my Jackson garden. And every fall, I sow crimson clover. I plant some areas. You plant some lettuces. You set out some kale and cabbage and things like that. But for
Yeah.
most of it, I use crimson clover. And the reason I do that because crimson clover, which is that stuff you see along the interstate, it only gets about maybe a foot or foot and a half thick, maybe a little bit more. But it makes a lot of bulky stuff that you can turn into your soil the next spring. But also they reach roots down nice and deep, and they make nitrogen from thin air. So if you'll sow crimson clover in the fall, you may even be able to get a little bit started now if we have any warm weather. If you'll just in the springtime, if you just cut it down and let the tops dry down a little bit, and then work it into dirt, or just plant in between it, and the new plant roots will grow down around the old roots of your clover, and the top part will make good mulch. But crimson clover is probably the most productive and interesting. And so when it starts to make the red flowers in the spring, time to cut it down and either dig it in, or else just pull the stuff back and plant in between. It works like a charm.
Great. Thank you. Great advice, Felder.
Oh, I want to ask you a question. What are you filling these beds with? That's a lot of stuff to haul.
Yeah, it is. I like giving vegetables to my neighbors, and it is. I have tomatoes, and like you mentioned for the winter, lettuce and kale, and other greens like that. Collards,
Yeah.
I like collards, and then I experimented this year with some gourds, just because I wanted to see them grow and see what they look like. I had about 8 different varieties of gourds. The swine's neck were the only ones that really produced a lot. But they're fun to watch. They took over my garden. I mean, I have these, arbors going between beds, and these gourds just were everywhere. So luckily I didn't plant them till late in the summer, and everything else was pretty well in.
Yeah. No. What do you fill your beds with? I mean, what kind of soil, what kind of dirt do you use?
Yeah. I used, I tried a couple of things. You read about how to do it. One is to put limbs down in the bottom, and it takes forever for them to rot, and then it, of course, lowers your level of your beds when that happens. And so I do that. I do some, not as good dirt in the bottom. I fill that with just kind of field dirt, and then I put cottonseed meal mixed with better soil on top.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it's been doing pretty good.
Yeah. If you if you dig down and bring some of that topsoil, the real dirt that's lower down, and bring it up and mix it with your organic stuff at the top, so you have sort of like instead of putting your chili on the bottom of the bowl and putting your crackers on top, stir them together, you get a little bit better mix, and you won't have to water as much, and it holds nutrients better. But you're right. A lot of people are just getting started. I recommend just laying a bunch of branches and limbs and all that kind of stuff down at the bottom, and then put good stuff on the top, and this mulch will take it from there. But anyway, Happy New Year, Jim. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, and Happy New Year to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, Java, what's up, man?
It is funny. We have been running a special on gems, but let's add Peg from Mandeville, Louisiana, to the show.
Hey, Peg. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning to you, Felder, and Happy New Year to you and everybody at MPB. You were right. A fake Christmas tree works better than after trying to plant 20 different kinds of live trees, Leland, cypress, different kinds of things in the yard that just don't make it. They did for a while, and they all died. And thank you for telling me, just bite the bullet, get yourself a fake tree. It worked.
I hate to say it, but it works. And I lived on a Christmas tree farm. I believe in fresh cut trees, but as far as buying something to plant in the yard, the best, most popular plants, they just don't like it. But anyway.
No, but that's not why I called. I just had to tell you were right. The thing is, I have these azaleas outside my studio window. It's only about 10 feet, and they are getting real leggy. But I don't want to cut them back because they're so pretty and they bloom profusely at the tops. What could I put underneath them? Because eventually these leggy things are going to have to get cut down or just dug up. But something that I could put under. The soil's kind of clay. It faces southwest, but I have a lot of shade, so it's not like getting a lot of hot sun. But I need to replace them with something. I don't know whether just put more azaleas, or I'm looking for something that flowers at least a little and has some evergreen.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would not plant more azaleas because then you have all your eggs in one basket. Everything blooms in spring. And I know there's repeat blooming azaleas, but to me, it's better to go with something that has a completely different shape, different leaf type, something that's contrast with it. As much as I like the little dwarf nandinas, they're nandinas that only get 2 feet tall, maybe 3 feet tall, and they're really durable. And they make a nice skirt. And you could put in front of that some clumps of plain old striped monkey grass, boring old striped monkey grass. But instead of a line of them, put them in groups here and there. And instead of putting something in front of all your azaleas, maybe put one group of nandinas near one end with some clumps of monkey grass around that, and then there's a type of yucca that's called soft tip yucca. It looks like a yucca, but it's mound forming and won't stab you to death. It's a terrific texture contrast. It has spikes of nice white flowers. But then you got different shapes and all different seasons of the color and all that. But I would try to avoid something that has different shape and size leaves than your azaleas, or it all runs together. Also, put a big urn out there. Put a bottle tree with all green bottles on it, or a big piece of driftwood. A hard feature really creates a little scene out there. A bench or something that would work too.
Yeah, I do have a lot of stuff in my yard, not only just plants, but I've been listening to you for long enough to have many of those things. But I just thought if there was.
I'm not saying over accessorize. I'm saying put something big and bold. But anyway, look for plants that has a different shape, what they call texture, that doesn't have similar type of leaves.
Right, and the azaleas are just so leggy. They don't look much like azalea bushes anyway. So
you can actually I've seen azaleas in cemeteries been limbed up into small trees like they do camellias. It's okay to do that, but and you might even do that. Let the trunks of the azalea be part of the tree.
So that's why I was thinking what underneath, not too big, like you said, dwarf would work, do something like that. Okay. Yeah. I have a little looking to do, but I appreciate you helping me out with this. You always do.
Well, just kicking around ideas, and I'm certainly not right, but I'm definitely opinionated about stuff.
Well,
anyway,
good for
happy
me.
New Year.
Thank you so much, Felder.
You bet.
Yes, thanks for calling, Peg, and Happy New Year to you. Felder, before we get to our last call, Marie in Mobile, Alabama, I do have to ask, did you see the Visit Mississippi float in the Rose Parade on the other day?
I did not, but guess what I did see? I saw I'm drawing a total blank. The Ocean Springs High School Band marching in the London New Year's parade. London.
Wow. Ocean Springs, shout out.
From Ocean Springs, Mississippi. The blue and the gray. It was great.
Shout out to Ocean Springs. Well, Jackson State Sonic Boom of the South marched in the Rose Parade, and then Visit Mississippi had a float. I want to say MPB's very own. Jermaine Flood is the fourth member of Chapel Hart, but Chapel Hart was on the Visit Mississippi float. Wow. They celebrated B.B. King and Elvis Presley. Also, they won the Past President's Award. Forget this, their innovation and use of floral and non-floral materials.
Well, you go. Mississippi, the Magnolia State shines.
Yes. Now let's go to Marie, Mobile, Alabama, last call of the hour.
And while we're doing that, would you have the guys in the booth back there put up the picture I sent of a painting of a truck with flowers?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, now who is I'm talking to again?
You got Abram and Marissa.
No, I'm talking about on the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Marie from Mobile, Alabama.
Marie, how are you? Hello.
Oh, I'm great, and I'm glad that I got through to y'all because I have a question about winterizing. I guess that's the word, ferns and mandevillas, because I can never get them to come back.
Okay, ferns, and what was the other plant?
I believe the name of it is mandevilla.
Oh, yeah, mandevilla is a vine. Yeah, the mandevilla is strictly a tropical plant, and if you leave it outside, if it freezes, it will die. What most people do is they simply cut it back And when it gets cold, they bring it in just for the cold weather and then put it back out. As long as it's above 40 or 45, it'll do okay. But if it gets down in the 30s, get a frost on it, it's going to do bad. So anyway, if you cut it back, it will put out new growth. It does not hurt it at all, any more than cutting privet hurts it. So cut it back, makes it easier to bring in and out.
Well, maybe it's just me then, because I bring it in. I buy one every summer, and I'll bring it in the winter, and it still will not come back. But okay, I'll keep working on that. The other one is with ferns. Is there a trick to take care of ferns?
Here's the problem. When you bring these plants in and out, the outdoor leaves don't do well indoors and they shed. And the indoor plants over the winter don't do well outdoors and they shed. So the idea is to usually cut them back and put them in a bright place and water them enough to keep them alive without soaking them, and just try to keep them alive over the winter. But if you don't cut them back, they're just going to look terrible. If you cut them back, they just think they've been cut back and they put out all new growth.
All right. Well, I haven't been cutting them way back, so maybe that's the trick for me then to start doing that. I do appreciate
it's like giving a poodle dog a haircut. It grows back.
All right. Well, what other question if I have time? I have a rose bush, a climbing rose bush, and it will not bloom. It has not bloomed for me.
You got plenty of sunshine?
It has plenty of sunshine.
Yeah. Don't prune. Most people prune roses in the winter. Prune climbing roses after they bloom in the spring. So don't prune them over the winter time. They'll bloom on what's out there right now. Prune them when they get through blooming in the summer. A little bit of fertilizer, not much, a little bit of fertilizer, and and don't prune them in the winter like you do bush roses.
Right. Well, I didn't know that either. Thank you.
All right, we got a scoot. Happy New Year. Okay, I know we're out of time, but I put that picture. I just want to mention a guy named Chris Crawford sent a picture of a wall hanging he saw in Rislin of a truck with flowers in it, and he thought of me.
Yeah, because you are, I don't know, are you the only person with flowers in the back of your truck? A garden
No,
in the...
there's a bunch of them, but I'm the one with the most famous one, that's for sure. Anyway, this has been kind of a wild first program of the year, Java.
Yeah, but I like it like that.
Okay. Well, I've got some other stuff to talk about, plenty of stuff. But if you have questions during the week, email garden@mpbonline.org or go to the Mississippi Gardening Facebook page. We'll have a good time. Anyway, Java, Happy New Year. Good to see you. And your camellias, don't kill them.
I'm gonna do my best not to. I don't know how to keep them alive, but I promise I won't try to kill them.
Yeah, that's good. And I also want to ask how's our lady doing?
Oh, lady's doing real good. Lady's doing real good. She's, the queen of the house. I'll say that.
Well, she's a sweet puppy. Anyway, you and your kids and your wonderful wife, y'all have a good week. I'll talk to you next week here on MPB. I think we're out of time, aren't we?
Yeah, we got about 20 more seconds. I think you need to tell everybody, go to a garden center.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Get a pot full of stuff. There's stuff you can grow right now. And if it doesn't make it, well, it'll get through the winter time. Anyway, if you get a chance, take a kid to a garden center, get them a pot full of stuff and show them how to do what we do best, and that's get dirty.